Welcome back to my channel, YouTube. You're finally here. You made it. We're finally gonna start cooking. If you're new here, my name is Brandon. I'm a chef here in Silicon Valley, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm giving away all this knowledge for free. Trust me, if you wanna be a better cook or tighten up your skills, if you're new, upcoming in the industry, then this channel is for you. I upload every Friday at 12 p.m. PST. We're gonna dive into sauces, soups, and stocks. And you might see a lot of recipes online from chefs that call for Mirepoix or a roux or a bouquet garni or sachet. And today I'm gonna explain to you what that is and what they mean, because they are the foundation to any soup, stock, sauce, okay? The most important thing we're gonna talk about today is mise en place. That means everything in its place. Very important. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Two of the biggest things that are prevalent in recipes and also for flavoring soups, sauces, stocks. One of them is called a bouquet garni. The other one is called a sachet. Now, bear with me here. So the standard bouquet garni is basically this: leeks, bay leaf, parsley stem, thyme, and a piece of string. And the idea is you put everything in the leek and then you're able to tie it up and then you can add it to the sauce and you're able to pull it back out. The thing is this can be changed, okay? You don't just have to stick to these aromats. This is a standard. So you can add or subtract whatever vegetables you want. I've seen people use carrot. I've seen people use celery. I've seen people use a piece of ginger. I've seen onions, other types of alliums. And so this is just the standard. So mark this down. If a chef asks you for a standard bouquet garni, this is what you're gonna grab for him or her. Next, we're gonna migrate over to the standard sachet. This is very similar to this. The only difference in my experience is basically the reason why you would make a sachet is because you have loose spices. And the idea is you take the same ingredients with the addition, garlic is subjective, but this is a standard sachet. So bay leaf, peppercorn, garlic, thyme, parsley stem, and then you have your cheesecloth and everything goes inside and you tie it and wrap it up. The only reason I use a sachet for is if I'm using a lot of different whole spices. A good example, star anise, clove, allspice are good examples of the reason why I'd want to use a sachet. There's also something called a loose sachet where you remove these two items and basically you have these. So this would be for if the sauce was getting strained where you don't need to be able to pull it out, so you don't have to have the cheesecloth or the string. For small batches of less than a gallon, you want to add the sachet or the bouquet garni pretty much at the last 15 to 30 minutes. And for batches that are several gallons or more, you want to add it about an hour before the end of the cooking time. So it really depends. There's so many different recipes and procedures. You have to go by what the finished dish is. And I think what's really important is towards the end of the sauce, make sure you give it a taste, right? If it needs additional seasoning, then that is the best time to add the sachet or also add addition like a fresh herbs, but we're gonna get into that when we make sauces, but these are basically the standard. So to recap, the sachet contains ingredients such as peppercorns, other spices, herbs. The seasonings are often tied up in a cheesecloth bag for recipes that are not strained after cooking. A standard bouquet can be modified where you can add carrot, garlic, or clove, or cardamom or ginger to produce different effects. A sachet infuses the liquid with flavor the same way a tea bag is used to make a cup of tea. So perfect, boom. But anyway, standard bouquet garni, standard sachet. Like I said, this is super subjective, but this is a good baseline. So if I sent you to this video, this is probably what I'm asking for. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below and we'll move on to the next section. Next thing I want to mention is what's called an onion brulee. Now you may be asking, what the hell does that mean, chef? Well, I'm about to explain it to you. This is very commonly used for a dark or a rich sauce. I think what's really important is I'm going to show you the technique and then I'm going to kind of explain it to you. In my experience, it's always best to go for the sweet onions. So sweet white onions. And then basically what you're going to do is cut it straight in half. Okay. And then what I like to do is just make a little incision and you want to try to keep that root on. And I'm gonna show you why after that. I peel off the first layer, okay? So onion brulee, definitely using veal stock, veal sauce. So basically you wanna peel off that first layer and then go ahead and just leave the root on. What we're gonna do is just trim off the dirty part. So here's a good example. All I'm gonna do is just trim off the root, the extreme end right here. So you're left with this. Okay, set that aside. And then while I'm doing this, what you wanna do next is have a pan on the stove getting really hot. I prefer to use cast iron If you have a French top at work, this is much better. But basically, all we're gonna do, just cut off that extreme end. So this is your setup, and we're gonna go to the stove. Here's your onion. And I try to like to use as little oil as possible because you don't want your sauce to be greasy. Rub it just like this, and then you're gonna put them face down. And you literally wanna burn these things. Walk away and leave them for about 3 minutes. This is onion brulee, and this took a good 4 to 5 minutes. Just want to show you because this is super important. If the onion brulee doesn't look like this, you haven't went far enough. I know this looks burnt to some people, but this is truly a classic technique. And I think what's really important is you're not going to put a whole onion inside 1 gallon of sauce, right? And there's also another version of this called onion piqué, which is basically studded with cloves. These flavor ingredients based on whole, halved, or quartered onions, not just a half onion. This is made by putting this face down onto either a cast iron pan or a French top. It's used in stocks, but mostly where I've used it is beef or veal stock and also consommes to provide a golden brown color. And now the onion piqué, like I said, is studded with a few whole cloves and a bay leaf. It is used to flavor bechamel sauce and some soups. I'll be honest, out of my whole career, I've probably used this maybe 4 or 5 times, right? Definitely in the French restaurant I worked at, and also in the Michelin level restaurant I worked at. This is just something you need to know. It is used, this is how it should be, and we're on to the next. So we are gonna start off with the basic. If you ever heard the term Mirepoix, that's what this is considered right here, but it's not limited to just these vegetables. So just so you have the textbook version, Mirepoix is the French name for the combination of onions, carrots, and celery. But it is not the only such combination. Even with the French culinary repertoire, Mirepoix is similar aromatic vegetables combinations are intended to provide a subtle but pleasing background flavor, supporting and improving the flavor of the finished dish. So what is this? Mirepoix. This is the backbone to any kitchen, especially in the professional world. But listen, I've seen Mirepoix with a ton of other vegetables. If somebody asks you for a standard Mirepoix, this is what you're gonna bring them. And always keep in mind, the ratio is 50% onion, 25% celery, 25% carrot. Okay, now I will be honest, depending on what you're making, you could also add leeks, parsnips, garlic, tomatoes, shallots, mushrooms, peppers, and ginger are among the ingredients commonly referred to as aromatics. They may be used in various combinations as dictated by the cuisine and the dish itself. Even when used in relatively small amounts, aromatic ingredients make a significant contribution to the dish. For example, 1 pound or 454 grams of Mirepoix is enough to flavor 1 gallon of stock, sauce, stew, braise, or marinade. To get the best flavor from the Mirepoix and similar preparations, thoroughly rinse and trim all of the vegetables. Onion skin will give a simmering liquid an orange or yellow tint, which may not be desirable, so determine whether to peel the onions. Scrubbing but not peeling the carrots and parsnips can cut down on the prep time. Nevertheless, some chefs peel all vegetables on the premise that flavor is extracted into the dish more easily. Others peel them only when they are not strained out of the finished dish. Whether or not the vegetables are peeled, cut them into pieces relatively uniform in size, with the dimensions matched to the cooking time of the dish. The shorter the simmering time, the smaller and thinner the cut. The longer the time, larger and thicker the cut. Make larger cuts for long simmering dishes such as pot roast or brown veal stock. Cut Mirepoix small or slice it for use in uncooked marinades, pan gravies, and dishes that simmer up to 3 hours. Mirepoix will add a distinct aroma to a dish, even if the cut up vegetables are simply added to the pot as it simmers. Sweating, smothering, roasting, or browning them in fat significantly changes their flavor. Start by cooking the onions just enough for the fat to coat the bottom of the pan and the vegetables. Then add the carrots and finally the celery. White stocks or cream soups generally call for cooking Mirepoix over low heat and fat until it starts to give off some of its own natural moisture, known as sweating. If the pot is covered in aromatic sweat, the technique is smothering. After standard Mirepoix, there is what's called white Mirepoix, and that is the removal of this and the addition of either parsnips or celery root and also leeks, okay? Now, white Mirepoix is used to flavor white stocks in soups that should have a mild flavor or a pale ivory or white color. All right, so onion, celery or celeriac, and then parsnip and leek, okay? And that is your white Mirepoix. Next is gonna be the Asian aromatics. I'm missing the ginger, but that's okay. It's basically scallion, garlic, can pretend this is ginger. Maybe we could put a ginger picture right here. Basically, Asian aromatics are used in many Asian stir fries, soups, and sauces. What I like to do with Asian aromatics is I like to puree them all together, and I use them in stir fries and also to start a dish. Very good combination. Next is one of the most underrated one, and that is gonna be the Cajun Trinity. Onion, celery, and bell pepper, okay? And basically this is the standard Cajun Trinity. And just note, the ratio is 2 parts onion to 1 part celery to 1 part bell pepper. And obviously this is not the end all be all. You can obviously add garlic and other peppers, whatever you want. This is just the standard, okay? So feel free to add whatever you want or whatever your grandma did. It's completely up to you. Cajun Trinity, that's it. Boom. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. There's barely any restaurants that have sauciers nowadays, so I'm grateful enough that I was a saucier for quite some time. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you next time.